Well, hello, everybody. It's Brother Todd with your Victory Minute, and I hope you boys and girls out there are all having a great day. Sorry for the pickup truck. I'm going to set in it because it's raining outside. But I wanted to talk to you today about something I got to thinking about. I hope it'll help you in some way. Out of what happened with me and my grandsons, oh, I don't know, a couple, 3 days ago. So what happened is I went out. In fact, I was going to go hunting and ended up where all four of my grandsons was in the same place. So forget hunting. And we was messing around with them, and I said, well, let's go hunt for arrowheads. We've had some big rain, and I don't know if you know it, but if you like to hunt arrowheads, that's the best time to go is after you had some really big rains. And so anyway, we was walking down Tank Dam, headed over to where I know there's some places where Indians used to make them. And when I was walking there, my wife or my daughter-in-law Stephanie, one, I don't know who, but come out there, and I was walking off with them boys, and we was walking down Tank Dam. They took our picture. In fact, I want to show you that picture right now, and get Brother John to put it up there. And while it's up there, you'll notice we're just kind of walking off away. And that's over to my left is my grandson Truett, and then next to me on the right is Titus, and then there's Todd, who's got his name from me, thank God, and God help him. And then there's Miles Man, and he's over there on the right side. You see him looking up there back at me. And we were walking off, and they're asking me questions about what little boys ask their granddaddies, and we was having a good time. Well, they showed me the picture, and I liked it, and I said, well, send me a picture. So anyhow, I got to noticing as I looked at that picture something unusual. It's really not unusual. In fact, it's very, very common. It's something that we actually have in our life just about every day, and especially with people that care about us, we care, people that respect us, those kinds of things. And that is the subtle impressions that we have on people. I'm going to get Brother John to bring that picture back up again, but this time I'm going to kind of focus it in on me and my grandson Titus. He's the oldest one. He's 10. And he's walking there right to my right. And I want you to take a second and look at this picture. Now, you can see me, and if you notice, he and I are in the same step together. My right foot's picking up about the same time his is. So we've fallen in time together. And then just look closely at like how I got my head down. Look at how my shoulders are rounded a little bit, right? Walking like an old man walks. Well, look at Titus. He walking the same way. That's something. That ain't how that boy walks. That ain't how he walks. But he likes his papa, and we're connected, and we just fell in there together. And the next thing you know, he's picked up on me. Look at that. That's something. I noticed that. I just started laughing, and I thought, boy, you don't recognize the impressions that you can make. And that got me thinking about this minute, about the reality of impressions, and in particular subtle impressions. Have you ever noticed the effect that we as people can have on each other? How you can come into the house, and if you're in a good mood, you can bring others into a good mood, or if they're in a bad mood, they can drift you that way. You ever walked into a restaurant or something and looked around, and everybody in there is just looking scowl-faced or something, frowning or just uh, disconnected, and you make eye contact with somebody and smile at them, and they immediately smile? That's what I'm talking about. There's that subtle impressions that we can have, and those subtle impressions become very big, very strong in the people that we have influence with. Now, the people you're going to have the most influence with, naturally and in the easiest way, are going to be people that are younger than you, and people that come into a situation after you did. So what I mean by that is if you're in a church and then somebody comes into a church, you're more inclined to have influence in their life. If you're a pastor, the people that were there at the church before you are harder to influence than the people that came to the church after you. The people that are younger than you are naturally going to be more impressionable by you than the other way around. That's just reality. And so as you think about, in particular, your kids, when you think in particular those that in your life group classes, your Sunday school classes, the people that you're mentoring, your grandkids, right? All of those people pick up very much on anyone that they respect, anybody that they kind of want to follow. I got tickled. I'll tell you this story. We talked about Otitis when he was littler. Uh, he got in the worst habit. We talk about something, I don't remember what it was, but he would say something like, he'd be saying his numbers, and he'd go, 15 for 15. And he'd go, 15 this or 15 that. And I told him one day, I said, look, son, I said, we got to talk like we're educated human beings, okay? Son, it's 15, and you need to pronounce that. He'd be 13, like that. And I was like, what is wrong with this boy? Anyway, I thought it was a little phase he was going through. And then we was all doing something, and I was talking to their grandmother, who we call Jeezy, my wife, on the phone, and I said, I guess we'll be there in about 15 minutes. One of the boys goes, Papa, we have to talk like we're educated human beings. It's 15. Well, he had picked that up from me, right? And that's something you realize, oh my goodness, you have that influence. So I've said all that to say this: what kind of influence are you having? Um, People learn how to deal with pressure, being around people that around pressure. I just thought of this. I was thinking about it when I was on the fire department. Uh, one of the shifts had at one of the stations had a lieutenant that hollered in every fire, and you couldn't understand nobody. Everybody wore them old timey masks back then, but he hollered. He'd get excited. He hollered, and everybody that worked with him hollered on the fire ground. If he in a room with you, you couldn't understand a word they said, right? Because everybody's hollering. What is it? It's influence. It's influence. What I'm talking about. If you speak kindly, people tend to speak kindly. If you speak friendly, people tend to speak friendly. Um, lots of you guys, you talk about how it's so hard to live with your wife and how she acts and this and that. Well, what mirror is she looking at, right? Because if you're the same way, if you're mad every time there's a problem comes up, then everybody in the house gets mad every time there's a problem comes up. If you can't think, but you just operate out of emotion every other time you do something, making sense? You got to watch. You got to watch your impressions, because boys and girls, impressions are easier to make, and having influence is easier than you think, right? It's God. It's one of the things God gave us, I think, so that we can get along. We can have empathy with one another. We can pick up on things, and we can recognize that we're not as different as we are alike. And because of that, when somebody is in a position where they're willing to give you influence in their life, my grandkids, if you watch them there, if you'll look, as we're walking, I get John bring up that picture of all four of us again. As you see them, where are they looking primarily? They're looking at me. They're looking at me, right? Because every question, because that's all he's doing. I was answering questions all the way down there. But if I told them I think we could find more airheads by jumping into that tank and swimming around on the bottom, well, there'd been four of them going belly in there, right? Because of influence. You've got to watch your influence, and you've got to watch your everyday influence, because that's really what builds into people. That's what becomes, can I use the word normal? That's what becomes normal to them. So watch the influence you have. Watch how, not just what you say, but how you say it. Think before you act. Think before you speak. Because especially with kids, grandkids, and people that are looking to you for leadership, you'll be surprised how much you rub off on them. I'll tell you this last little deal, and I'll be done. I'll tell you two little stories. I can't help but notice when any of our young preachers in the church preach, how many times they say things like I say them. Well, who they've been listening to, right? They'll make a statement, they'll use a phrase, they'll turn something, and I'll think, oh Lord, boy, I sound country, right? They just pick up on it. Last thing I want to tell you, this is a true story. My wife taught a little boy years ago, and he he was living with his grandparents, and they got afraid the boy was hurting. He'd moan and groan a lot, And, if he moved or he sat down, got up, and he just, so Grandma takes him to the doctor's. True story. You probably already know where this is going based on what I've been talking about. Anyway, they get there in the room. The boy sits down up there on the table, the doctor, and he grunts and goes on. And about that time, Grandpa comes around the corner and he sits down. And when he sits down, he grunts and he groans. Doctor said, Mr. So-and-so, said, could you stand up for me? And he says, sure. He gets up. He got the little boy, said, boy, would you stand up here? He wasn't, he wasn't hurting. He just, I've been in the house, everybody makes a bunch of noise when they sit down and get up. I thought that's what you did. Influence, impressions. So what's yours? All right. Hey, I hope you have a good weekend. Come see us at church this week at 10 o'clock if you can. Be sure to like, subscribe, send these things, forward them, all that kind of stuff, ring bells and all that. It helps and helps get the word around. But come on, be with us at church, if online or at the campus at 10 o'clock this coming Sunday. And again, I hope you have a good day, and I pray that you are and have a good influence. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.